Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It has been a while.
We are
Tui and I
still
are here.
waiting. There it is.
Am I good? Okay. Okay. Yeah, very good. So I dug back into our file and found that we really were, going to be on program number 84. And I just thought I'd do a very slight review. And I'm glad to see you here, Alexandra and Anne and Annette and Antoinette and Catherine, Deborah, Diana, Frederick, Gretchen, Heike, Jessica, Joe, Joan, Johi, Julie, Karen, Leslie, Mariut, Martha, Miro, Nessa, Nienke and Suzanne and Walter, Winnie and Anne Veronica. And we're backing you up here with Michael Stacy, BL and Joe, and Tuya this time is going to be with us and we'll do the meditation. But we'll start out, I want to do a little review. I hope that many of you were able to be at the conference. It was a very different kind, and we will be doing something similar next year, so that quite a number of you who might otherwise not be able to attend can attend. So we had a goodly number of people from all over the world that were able to attend, and we think that's very good, and it worked out relatively smoothly. So, but now it's going to take quite a while for a year to elapse. We don't know where we're all going in this global pandemic, the extrication from which depends upon the wisdom of humanity, and that wisdom is not always present. And there is much tension in the air. Some people, it's almost like here in the United States, it's almost like a replay of the Civil War between the red and it would have been the blue and the gray, but in this case, it's the blue and the red. And people have been predicting a very violent next few months leading up to the election. So we're going to meditate today on dissipating the glamour of violence, in which we seem to believe that these drastic Martian solutions will lead to the result that we want. And of course, with the United States' six-ray personality and a very, very strong Mars, I believe Mars is in Gemini, and so the two brothers are fighting, you see, because Gemini, of course, represents the higher and the lower brother, and they are at war with each other. And some people almost gladly anticipate a kind of war, whether it's subtle or whether it's working out the way it is right now, with riots everywhere due to injustice and the burning of police stations and just the general kind of violence we saw 50 years ago or more in the Watts area of California when Martin Luther King was shot. We're in the midst of it, and we have to see what is it that prompts a person not to seek harmony, but to seek through violence the exaltation of their own point of view without giving credit to the other side whatsoever. So All right, that's the background. It's happening right now as we speak, and it is a dangerous situation. The inciting to violence, of which our president is presently guilty, and the response to it, and the inciting towards shooting and death and all those kinds of things. So it's a very sad and dangerous situation. So we have plenty to meditate about. I just want to review just a little bit here certain basic premises that we have to keep in mind. And I went over a few of those premises last time. I'm just going to mention them. We have to, number one, we have to achieve a recognized contact with the soul through meditation. Now, we may talk about it, and the question is, have we achieved it? Then the second point here has to do with the quality of the astral plane. It should be here remembered that astral desire, wrong and selfish emotion, and astral reactions to the fact of daily life are not natural to the soul and constitute eventually a condition which serves to veil successfully the true nature of the spiritual man. So that has to be recognized, and that has to be overcome. How it is that astralism, which is related to psychism, is not the true psychism, the true higher psychism, and is non-revelatory. In fact, it veils the truth. The point 3 to keep in mind, the disciple must establish contact with the soul and do this consciously and with the needed emphasis, and so carry soul light into his own astral body. Now that's the point. Carrying soul light. And we have our method in our meditation of doing that, carrying soul light into our own astral body. Learn to focus it there in the solar plexus center. And from that point of achievement, proceed to work upon the astral plane at the arduous task of dispelling glamour. And note, arduous. It's tough. It's not easy. Otherwise, we would not have a humanity glamoured today as it is. Matter of fact, we're in for a major battle with glamour, no question, and with Maya, and with illusion. The three-headed dog, Cerberus, found in the lower regions and often in the labors of Hercules. Those three units are appearing in the Pisces labor and Capricorn labor. The personality becomes, at a certain stage, not the instrument, but the enemy. And then it has to be made to be a true instrument of the soul. And then finally, the fourth one in the little review here that we're conducting, when this line of contact has been made and the soul and astral body and the astral plane have thus been intimately related, the disciple must carry the focus light from the solar plexus, where it has been localized temporarily, to the heart center. Now that is really the function of the second initiation. And that is, in a way, what makes you a true member of the new group of world servers, and, not simply a man or woman of goodwill. So therefore, the heart center, he must hold it. Now this is very interesting, and work consistently and perseveringly from that higher center. Working from the heart center. Okay. So those are the things to keep in mind. And here from the old commentary, we are presented with this. The disciple stands, and with his back to the glamorous fog, looks towards the east, from whence the light must stream. You know, the sun rises in the east, and every lodge of the mysteries is set up with the master in the east, and so forth. Within his heart, he gathers all the light available, and from that point of power between the shoulder blades, the light streams forth. So, you know, you ask yourself then, is for me the light streaming forth from the heart center? Just pause for a moment. And how, you know, and how do you know, and how do you feel it if that is the case? Because when that is happening, we know that we've made a major shift from the passionate to the compassionate, and from the preacher to the teacher, you know, and from violence to understanding and forgiveness. Okay, so that takes us a little bit in review, since it's been about 3 months since we've been able to do anything with this because of the conference and getting all that started. Next year it won't be so difficult. We'll know really quite what we are doing. So those are premises, and now there's more premises as we begin our work here at number 84. And we'll be switching back and forth. You know, this is a time of the evening session. And now, you know, tomorrow night we'll have a broadcast. So far, it looks like it'll be on the Soul of Nations, and we'll be mentioning the Esoteric United Nations and getting that process going again. So here is the next premise, and this is in today's work and today's reading. The disciple must relinquish all sense of tension or of strain, and must learn to work with pure faith and love. Well, okay. Easier said than done, right? But in other words, you can be at a point of tension, and a significant point of tension, without tenseness or strain, which is debilitating. Both of them are debilitating. And must learn to work with pure faith, fiery faith. You know, we have the Pentecost coming up, and let's see, Tuya, is that Sunday? Yeah, Pentecost broadcast is coming up, when the disciples were overshadowed by the Holy Spirit, and the tongues of fire appeared above their heads, and they were in the upper room, and they could communicate with each other in these different tongues, and then they went forth to spread the good news. So that's a very powerful moment, and we hope you'll be able to join us. And it is a broadcast, correct, Tuya? So far, a broadcast, normal broadcast at the YouTube a live link, which BL has put into our chat box. Okay, so relinquish all sense of tension or of strain, and learn to work with pure faith and love, which is disinterested faith. Not just the faith that will save your neck, you won't. No, pure, fiery faith and real love, And, there's been such nonsense written about all that by those with a narrow point of view. The less he feels, and the less he is preoccupied with his own feelings or sense of achievement or of non-achievement, the more probable it will be that the work will proceed with effectiveness and the glamour be not rapidly but slowly dispelled. The glamour will be slowly dispelled. So that's the rules of the game here. Nothing rapid and nothing personal. And then this is a really important thing. In this work, there is no haste. That which is very ancient, going back to Atlantean days, really, cannot be immediately dispelled, no matter how good the intention or how accurate may be the grasp of the needed technique. So ponder on that for just a moment. This is a long-term process. There is no rush, nor hurry, nor is there any time to lose. We're told in the rules of the road. And this means that we're dealing with issues that are blinding us, and these issues are millions of years old. And that everyone here has, past a birth of glamour, fostered by the Lords of Form, by the Black Lodge, and more an Atlantean thing than a Lemurian thing, where the issue was more Maya and proper control of the body. So just pause and think, it's very old. And it's very blinding. And it obscures reality. In this world, and especially, maybe, the East imitates the West these days. In these chaotic times, the settled atmosphere needed for true occult study and practice do not exist. DK deals with this in White Magic, and he anticipates the time when it will be possible really to get into occultism, because there will be a settled atmosphere. Occultism is moving to the West, to the Occident with its second-ray soul and fourth-ray personality, and it's moving in a way away from the East, except for the great, centers we're talking about. Eventually, all planetary centers will have it. The Orient, fourth-ray soul and third-ray personality. It will be apparent to you, I hope it is apparent to us, that there are elements of danger in this work. Now, some of us have experienced those dangers and, realize that unless one is really careful, one can get into unsuspected trouble. And you never know where the attack comes from. We're told that the members of the evil group, which basically want to throw us back into the old approach to personality, that the members of this group are warring militantly against the aspirant and disciple. Warring militantly. Well, I think you see it now. We're in the midst of a last-ditch fight of materialism, at least for this moment. There will be other and even more dangerous moments in the history of the planet, and we're not anywhere near the Judgment Day, though we are passing through something that kind of anticipates the battle of the Judgment Day, and surely enough, Mars is involved, as you would expect, and hence all the violence, which is first raging and psychological, and then even can work out on the physical plane. Later at the Judgment Day, it will work out between the lower mind and the higher mind, which is very interesting, but that's maybe millions of years ahead. It will be apparent to you that there are elements of danger in this work, unless the members of the group are exceedingly watchful, and unless they cultivate the habits of careful observation, they may suffer from overstimulation of the solar plexus until such time as they have mastered the process of rapidly transferring the light of the soul focused in the solar plexus and the innate light of the astral body, also found located in that center. Both, there are two centers in the solar plexus, one lower and one higher, the lower one Martian, the higher one Neptunian. So also found within that center into the heart center between the shoulder blades. This transference, which all those who are working in the second seed group must certainly accomplish, is no piece of cake. This is a long-term process, and it may take more than one life. Alice Bailey actually was involved in this kind of process, more, I think, recapitulative, because I think, that before long she found herself from the preacher to the teacher. She was in with the troops there in World War I, and she was a bit of a fiery preacher, recapitulating, I think, and later she became the great teacher, initiate of a third degree, a radiant initiate of the third degree. So watchfulness, because these are very sneaky forces. These are forces which take you unawares. And they can, the solar plexus is maybe the strongest center in our solar system at this time, because we have a solar logos who has taken the second degree but not the third. And it is an astrally polarized solar plexus of the solar logos trying to achieve something higher along the line that Sirius has achieved. In other words, our solar logos is an initiate, a cosmic initiate of the threshold, and not really like a sacred solar logos, the way Sirius is. It's amazing how the analogy just keeps going, and I think the same thing will be said of various cosmic logoi, which have 7 major, suns in them and so forth. So we human beings, we reflect that a little bit, okay? And we have to watch out for overstimulation. Why? What will it do? It will create a barrier. When people are super excited, they just can't take anything in, and they confuse everything. And their state of excitation shuts out the truth. So it may be, they may feel wonderful in terms of their excitation, but it doesn't really lead anywhere. The heart is the goal. So he says, I would therefore warn each and all of you to proceed with the utmost care, and I would caution you that if you suffer any solar plexus disturbance or encounter in yourselves any increased emotional instability, to be not unduly disturbed. I would ask you to regard the phenomena of disturbance as simply a temporary difficulty incident upon the service you are seeking to render. So, these are the dangers, and we have to have the right attitude when we undertake this work, in case we think nothing could be simpler than just doing the Tibetan's formula. If you pay this intelligent attention to the matter and no more, don't exaggerate, refusing to be distressed or to be disturbed, no bad results, ongoingly bad, will be felt. So let's ponder on that for just a moment. What is the attitude that he hopes that we achieve? You might call it an occupational hazard. And, he tells us that when we tread the path of occultism, subtle and unusual dangers may be encountered. It's a bit difficult to talk about them until one has really confronted them. Now, a little more, and then maybe maybe we will talk about questions either here or in occultism in general. There is a meditation that is offered here, and maybe next time we'll take that up. I'm not so interested in pushing things tonight too far, because it's been a while that since we have met. See, this is a little bit different. It's a preparatory meditation, and it's something that we can do involving the heart center, the head center, and so forth. And I think it needs its own attention for next time. But maybe, some things have come up for you in this brief discussion about the sort of the dangers of this work and the need to be sensitive but not oversensitive, and the need not to exaggerate, and the need to detach from the inevitable sort of occupational hazard of getting into this work. So he goes on to say that in connection with your anticipated group work along these lines, you will proceed with your group meditation. Now, they're found pretty much in Discipleship of the New Age, Volume 1, as indicated elsewhere, okay? And then when you have arrived at stage 3 in the group meditation, you will work together as follows. So this is an augmentation of the group meditation. Augmentation of the group meditation. It would be nice if this really worked. Whoa. Okay. I'll just make this kind of blue. All right, and then we'll begin here with our reading next time. We're on page 143, and really haven't covered a lot of ground, but it is enough for now. Enough for now, I think. And then what I'm going to do will be shifting to the morning schedule. And then what I'll try to do, as I have done in the past, is we'll have the Science of Triangles meditation accompanying the Triangles meditation. And before long, starting slowly again, will be maybe our fourth series of the Identify as Being webinar. There's just so much lying beneath the surface that it would be good to revisit that. So we're not really beginning on page 144. It's 142 and 143. Okay, and then the next one will be 85. No longer February, okay. And okay, I'm sorry to be making this so big here, but thus it is. Okay, 29, and it'll be the Well, that's going to be the day of the full moon, but it'll be in the morning, so we'll let you know about that, to what extent we will do that on the day of the full moon. Sometimes we don't, so that you can continue your concentration. And if we don't, then we'll pick it up in a couple of weeks and not just in 1 week. Okay? So now think to yourself about your various questions or responses in terms of what we have been looking at here, because we're going to go on next time with the meditation which DK asks us to interpolate in the group meditations found in Dina 1. And then there are even more advanced group meditations found in Dina 2. Basically, he says, you've got enough to keep you busy and profitably busy for the rest of your life. And that was when he did, leave the group apparently in what was it? Was it sort of 1946? But then he wrote occasional letters to them. People suffered from a great separation anxiety at that time. And they felt a great sense of failure, But remember, the C Group project is 275 years, and in its present phase will not be terminated until the year 2200. And by that time, the externalization should be well underway, and the Aquarian energy should be taking over, and the Piscean sixth-ray energy will have faded. So let's see what he has in mind following that. These are all of this stuff. It's all a series of bridging treatises leading, I suppose, to the true teaching and accomplishment of the new age, or like he says, the wonder of the new age. So it's enough for us to kind of do a few things at a time and think even a century ahead would be plenty for us at the moment. And that's really, he doesn't give us much more than that. We'll just have to see how humanity responded, and that means how every one of us does respond as hopefully someone who is becoming a member of the new group of world servers and is very much committed to service. Okay. So this is actually the end of 84. And the end webinar, okay, page 142 and 143. It doesn't make any difference how much we do as long as it sinks in. Okay, and this will be the end. It'll be from 143. And it'll be the beginning, and it'll be 85. Okay. And it'll be AM at that time. All right. Okay, friends, we have gathered. There are more of us here now, and Tuya and I will be hoping to continue the work that we've always been doing now that the conference, well, there's still a lot of aftermath, but it has subsided a little bit. And we're just kind of taking care of business and looking ahead to the possibilities for next year. These 5 very crucial years for every one of us leading up to the great conclave of 2025. Okay, so now you've had a chance to do a little thinking, and anybody like to say anything?
Suzanne has a question.
Okay, let's see, where is it? Who has the question?
Suzanne writes, I'm wondering if there are indications that one has experienced, quote, effects of disturbance from Black Lodge. Unquote,
okay, as
opposed to a merely karmic experience.
Well, actually, DK does warn us about that, and so it's quite a good question. He says that, you know, sometimes it's a glamour itself to think that one is sort of important enough or, you know, the focus of the members of the Black Lodge. It would be those associated with it. And I would say that we should basically think of the first effect rather than the second. But if something really persists, if you know you're doing some kind of work that is really needed and you are encountering constant interference of an obscure and subtle kind, you may make the association without being definitive about it, because, you know, it can lead to the sense of being self-important. And DK says, well, we better think of ourselves as being kind of average disciples, because otherwise we're liable to get into egotism, which itself can be used by the forces of obstruction. You know, here they use our very anticipation of their presence as a method to stop our cooperative work. So rather than jump into that usual thing, oh my goodness, the Black Lodge is attacking me, that rather than that, we just think about the usual karmic stresses and just our opponents more on the outer plane who are tending in that direction. You know, everybody has a balancing opponent, or at least along the way and up to a certain point, okay? And it's best not to exaggerate. That's my particular feeling. But when really, really subtle things happen and you know you're doing something needed and they just keep happening in a very subtle but effectively obstructive manner, then you can think about the other. All right. Now, okay, Michael, do you want to read that from Alexandra?
Getting to it. It's a long one.
Yeah, I see it.
Before this virus, we often spoke of glamours particular to certain nations. Now the globe is facing the same exact menace in different degrees. there is more misinformation than ever before in our generation. Can you speak about our responsibility in sorting the true from the untrue? And can you comment on the fact that some people actually believe the whole of this virus is a false alarm and a hoax? Hence, much resistance to lockdown, self-isolating, and wearing masks.
I think it's, well, you know, frankly, we're dealing with the age of the soul. We're dealing, I think a lot of this has come, the resistance has come out of America, but maybe the other, you know, second-rate soul country, the United Kingdom, shares with America, the United States, the possibility of being an arena very much for the Christ work. Now, the sixth ray is having a recrudescence, and it is stimulating the solar plexus in such a way that people are full of fear and are hanging on to what they know as if they desperately need it, and if they let go of it, their sense of sort of very parochial values, they would lose their way entirely. It is actually a resistance against the illumination of the fifth ray, in my view anyway. Next year, we're going to have a conference that focuses on the fifth ray, that, you know, the brilliant light of the fifth ray Lord, and how it leads to initiation and illumination, you know. So there are people who are so in their solar plexus that they have not even achieved mental focus, or let's just say, out of fear, the solar plexus runs the mind. A lot of people, we're told that, for instance, the United States is heir to the Piscean sixth ray civilization. That's a great danger. And DK has said elsewhere that the United States really is a menace to the peace of the world, but that fortunately much suffering lies ahead for the soul of that great people. He adds to it. So the refusal to take the Venusian rather than the Martian path, to take the fifth ray path of illumination rather than the sixth, because the fear blocks out the right use of the fifth ray, is one of the great reasons why we cling to misinformation if it soothes our own sense of parochial values. We want a smaller world than really exists. We want simpler solutions than really exist. We don't, I mean, I'm talking, you know, I'm identifying here with the relatively undeveloped souls that he said began to come into the countries, and especially into the United States. We don't care about the truth because the truth will upset us, and we're not interested in being upset. We have it solved. You go to heaven, you don't, you know, you believe, you don't, whatever. And so we reject the widening of our minds and the illumination of our minds with which the fifth ray would give. And it's much easier to write off something that you might assimilate and broaden your point of view than it is to just stick with the old and false in this quote-unquote post-truth era. So I think it's just built into the stage of evolution of the people who reject, and it's a big Gemini issue, and therefore the United Kingdom would be involved, and the United States, both with Gemini. It's a battle between the two brothers.
Michael, can I add something?
Absolutely. Go ahead, dear.
Yeah. In addition to this, I'm just thinking about in the frame of the time that we are ending, or that the era of the forerunner is ending very soon. So I guess so. And actually it has been coming via the virus. That first, I think that we all were thinking that it is going to be some kind of shorter period. And now we are seeing that it can be even worse, that the years, or that it is not going to be at all ceasing in the human phenomenon. So, or the vaccination is very far in the time frame. And also that there could come even other things before 25. It must be related to these endings of that period, what was seen by hierarchy. And this whole question of truth, if we remember what Christ said, I'm the way, I'm the, how is it? It is, I'm the truth and the way and the life, or is it, I'm the way, the truth and life, which order it was. But anyway, there is something related to this Christ appearance and Christ presence, which is related to the truth. And I think it is now this whole thing, if we think what is going on now, United States, and what Donald Trump, President Trump has been putting in the new restrictions to the social phenomenon, so that there is something that in humanity is rising, the call for truth. And for that reason, these forces are fighting. This is not only the virus thing, it is really related something of the Christ presence, how he is nearing, and these big issues which are going to be decided in hierarchy in the great meeting on 25.
No, and I would like to add a little bit to that. We've been learning from Master M and Master DK that the line between truth and falsehood, which has been obscured for so many, has to be made crystal clear, so that people will choose wisely because they actually see. And that is what is happening with the differentiation of a completely unacceptable way of lies and falsehood and the demonstration of truth. Now, you know, right on the same podium, just a little while ago, we had Donald Trump and Dr. Fauci. So Fauci was speaking the informed, illumined epidemiological truth, and followed or preceded by falsehood and misleading statements. It's getting easier and easier, but not there yet, to discern, and people have to make a choice between what is likely true, factual, and belongs to the fifth ray, and what belongs to the fearful clutching of the sixth ray from less developed people. And of course, all of this, through suffering, will lead to their greater development. We have to have the fifth ray of the Aquarian age emerging strongly. And what better way than through this Geminian contrast. So it's going to be painful to see such ridiculous falsehoods perpetuated for the sake of personal egoism, but it will have a goal: the clarification of the sinuous line between that which is on the right-hand path and that which is on the left-hand path. Okay, what else?
And Alexandra wanted to clarify, are you referring to those who believe the virus is a false alarm?
I think you said a hoax. Yes, they think it's a false alarm because they cannot take it in. And they believe, as a sixth-ray type would believe, probably there are many of them sixth-ray souls going temporarily out of incarnation, that what the leader says is true. They're authoritarians. So that's exactly what I'm referring to and why I'm referring to it. They don't want to take in the possibility that it's a real thing. And I'll say, some of them actually have gotten the disease and they've changed their perspective due to the horrific experience. But generally, it's a question of what their belief system will tolerate. And, look at the guy in Brazil, Bolsonaro. Is that his name, Bolsonaro? He's running out there with his support and without a mask, and maybe he wears one now occasionally, basically say it's a little flu. Well, when the person gets that little flu, they may change their mind. Anyway, he's in great danger of being impeached, and the people who continue to perpetuate anti-scientific views will be discovered for what they are. Now, I would say that sometimes it's because they lack development, and sometimes simply because they're cynical and they want the power that comes with manipulating the masses. Okay, is there anything further?
I am seeing no other hands raised, and Alexandra said thank you.
Right. Well, we're thinking about it, Alex. All of us are. It's being forced upon us. I think, how nations react does have quite a bit to do with their rays, when you're here in a seventh-ray country like Finland, which has a very strong Capricorn soul, then people behave, and they do what they are told. At least in this particular case, it's good. When it comes to Greece, they have a very good record, but there it's Capricorn again, isn't it? In Cancer, something like that. I don't know. Someone has to look that up. I know the sign Cancer is involved, and maybe Capricorn. But anyway, Greece was wise and has a very low rate. On the other hand, the troubling issue has to do with certain areas in the Orient who were wise and now are experiencing outbreaks. So, we're not out of the woods yet, and sometimes there's a clear reason for it. But look, humanity is being taught a big lesson. Sanat Kumara has to be behind this whole thing, as the universal epidemic, and the goal is to move us towards the one humanity position, I'm afraid through quite a bit of suffering. And people who have been on the front line, well, their heroism is acknowledged. I mean, they are putting themselves in extreme danger to take care of others. So the factor of sacrifice is very strong, and they're making progress through that sacrifice, and humanity is benefiting through their sacrifice. We're all in this together. It has been said Africa has not yet gone through the trial, and there the medical situation is so bad that it could be extremely difficult. South America now through Brazil is, and probably other places, is mounting in its rates of both cases and deaths. We haven't seen the last of this by any means, and trying to wish it away with magical thinking is the height of egoism. So let's just stay tuned as members of the new group of world servers and use the power of our creative imagination, because thoughts are things, to prepare the inner atmosphere for better solutions than have come out thus far.
And Karen's hand is raised.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
unmuted, Karen. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So what do you think, Michael, is the best way for us to address or help this inability for these people to take this truth in?
To take it in ourselves and to be representatives of it, and to not only speak in a persuasive and factual way without emotion, without all that kind of six-ray excitement that can whip others into a state of blindness. And that's on the outer plane. And on the inner plane, together to be intent in our alignment with hierarchy and the visualizing of the desirable outcomes and solutions. There's an outer method of behavior and an inner way of approach, which involves intense work in combating the glamour. And of course, we have our meditations to help us do that. It's adherence to ignorance. It's a profound obstacle, and we have to learn interiorly to work together and dissipate such states in the manner that DK gave us. So, Tuya has something to say here.
Yeah, in relationship to glamour, that is always a great problem, because glamours are related to the astral, can we say, astral unrealities, and they always affect human living. They are distorting, they reverse things, deceives us, and so forth. And I just remember this, what Arjuna was facing when Krishna was telling him how to overcome. Was it to overcome the depression? But anyway, to overcome these clamors. And he said that one, know thyself to be the undying one. Two, control thy mind, for through that mind the undying one can be known. Three, learn that the form is but the veil which hides the splendor of divinity. Four, realize that the one life pervades all forms, so that there is no death, no distress, no separation. And five, detach thyself therefore from the form sight and come to me, so dwelling in the place where light and life are found. Thus illusion ends.
That is so good. We have to see to our own spiritual solidity by following that kind of advice that the Christ as Krishna gave, and is in a book which DK said every disciple should have close in his or her library, along with the New Testament and the Yoga Sutras, and maybe there were and the crest jewel of discrimination, the Viveka Kudamani. So the Viveka is the discrimination by Shankara. So those were some of the training manuals that he was wanting his disciples to have. And if we become lax in our own training, then we will not be equipped to face the challenge, nor will we be able to work together in group form for a more impressive attack upon the forces of obscuration. So, there's several things, outer and inner, that we have to do. And of course, persistence is a main factor. We can't just think it's a little, holiday and we do it for a while and that's it. It's a big issue. Matter of fact, even the day when the attack against glamour by standing in massed intent will occur is not even with us yet. The first thing is drive the evil back out of the ethers onto the astral plane, and then comes the attack on the astral plane. And I have a feeling that when Vulcan is established, the spiritual will necessary for a very effective attack will be even more with us, necessarily with us. So this is a long-term project, and we're not even talking about illusion. Now, some of us, we've been with this a long time, and we can somewhat deal with those misinterpretations that we call illusion through the technique of the presence, which he's going to, elaborate here in the book. But that's not the average person. Glamour is the issue. And so we are helping by our own solidarity and the use of the technique of light. DK has given us a lot of what we need, and we just have to stand steadfast in the utilization of what he has given and to see it through onto the outer plane, because we have conversations with people. We do. And we have to be persuasive without being overbearing, to know the next thing, the next wise thing to say, to help tip those who are ready into a consideration of greater things. Okay. So
I am seeing no other hands raised or questions written.
It's probably a good thing, because we also have a board meeting coming up, and after our meditation. And Tuya, do you want me to put the meditation there, or do you want to do it? Yeah, okay, I can have it on the screen. Okay. And we adapt this meditation, as you know, because I think what I've done here is I've got to yeah, I had it before, and it's not quite. Well, let me go get this, and then I'll put it in something else, and just please bear with me for a minute. And this is, I sent this to you, and just a moment, I hope to get this to you. And it has the word glamour. And let's see if I can find it. Here's the glamour med. And yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't quite have this as prepared as it could be. All right. Home, go home. And here we go. And this is it. This is about violence. So I'll just follow along with what Tuya is doing. And this is, we have to adapt this. Otherwise, these are meant to be done in small groups, and not the kind of larger group that we have. So if you have to adapt it if you do that. Okay, do you see it well enough, Tuya?
Yeah, I have my there. So this is going to be a little bit more adapted. So are we ready to go now?
Yes, we're ready, and I'll turn off my echo.
Right. And Michael, do you want to say the all informational data before? Because I would like that we will ending then the whole webinar into this last OMS.
Okay, well, tomorrow, yes, maybe. We will have, you know, in the evening, let's see, wait a second. Yeah, evening schedule. We will have things related to the soul of the nations. Okay, it will be a broadcast, and some information on the EUN, Esoteric United Nations, will be coming through. So use your YouTube live link, which you've been using all along. And BL put that into the chat box, I believe. So you should find the link if for any reason you don't have it. Then coming up, the next, let's see, the next day is Sunday. And we're going to have the Pentecost meditation. And let's see, what time does
6 p.m.
start?
GMT.
Is it 6 p.m.
6
GMT?
p.m. GMT.
Whoa, I may have put the wrong, that was the full moon. Okay, 6 p.m. GMT. So BL or Michael or Joe, would you put the Pentecost broadcast in the chat box? And it's the same live link. It's a broadcast. Correct, Tuya? Yes, okay. So that's very important, and it's 6 p.m. GMT, so I think we will not be having the money meditation. No. We'll just go right into the Pentecost because it has so much to do with group work and understanding and carrying forth the good news. Then next week, we'll see how many more programs we can add onto it that we were doing before. But basically, it's the morning schedule for our usual Ask programs. And we'll reach you somehow with all of that. I hope that's sufficient. And now I'll just, so we're when we finish this meditation, Tuya, that's going to be it for the end of this program together.
And so we can close our eyes. And I'm going to read also our names because this is the first glamour meditation for a long time. And just align with this beautiful alignment what Dike was giving in page 142, just for us to start our work. The disciple stands and, with his back to the clamorous fog, looks towards the east from whence the light must stream. Within his heart he gathers all the light available, and from that point of power between the shoulder blades, the light streams forth. Preparatory stages. And now we name the names in our group available at the moment, at present at the moment. Alexandra, Anna, Anne, Annette, Antoinette, Arjo, Barbara, Carl, Catherine, Deborah, Diana, Frederick, Gretchen, Heike, Jessica, Joe, Joanne, Johi, Julie, Karen, Catherine, Leslie, Lorraine, Marco, Mariut, Martha, Miro, Nisa, Nienke, Peg, Sarah, Susan, Tia, Walter, Winnie, Zenaid, and Veronica. And in staff, VL, Joe, Michael, Stacy, and Robbins, and Tuya. The protective formula. And in this we are going to form the cross of divinity. Forehead, heart, left eye, and right eye. Let us say now in unison. Touch your forehead. As a soul, I work in light. And heart. Darkness cannot touch me. Left eye. I take my stand within the light. Right eye. I work, and from that point I never move. And let us see this cross shining forth. And protecting the group members. The 3 preparatory stages. Focus now with the dual light or matter, etheric, physical, and mind, mental. Meditate on soul contact and recognize the soul light. And now fuse these 2 lights, the 2 lesser lights, the dual light, with the soul light. In the mental body. And say together, the light in one, and in that light shall we see light. This is the light that turns the darkness into day. The formula. Let us visualize the great searchlight that we have creating, turning the light upon the astral plane where the glamours exists. Let us say together, radiance are we and power. We stand forever with our hands stretched out, linking the heavens and the earth. The inner world of meaning and the subtle world of glamour. We reach into the light and bring it down to meet the need. We reach into the silent place and bring from thence the gift of understanding. Thus with the light we work and turn the darkness into day. Now using the Antakarana, we follow the line of will, invoking the spiritual will. The line we can see, sacrifice petals, atmic plane of spiritual will, and the monad. And we say together, with power upon its being, the light is focused on the goal. The goal for us is to dissipate the glamour of violence. we can meditate and reflect. Why is this a negative solution for modern humanity? Now turn this great searchlight upon it, on astral plane, the violence. Visualize this strong light thrown upon by the group, penetrating now into the clamor of violence. And while moving forward in the work, producing its weakening, and finally the dissipation. To say together the words of power. The power of our united light prevents the appearance of the clamor of violence. The power of our united light negates the quality of the clamor from affecting humanity. The power of our united light destroys the life behind the clamor of violence. Now holding the steady little light penetrating into the clamor of violence, We have 5 minutes of silence, intensifying our purpose while the work is in proceeding. 5 minutes silence. Let us now refocus again upon the mental plane and turning our attention away from the astral plane. And now we shut off the searchlight, also the group searchlight. And we see that the work has been successful. And let us sound again 3 times Om, closing this meditation. And may the blessings of the Holy Ones rest upon the group. Thank you for everybody and good night from Finland.